was at the office tonight, right? And before I left, there was a dad um, who who is ordered to see his child, right? This one particular father been there probably about this was his third visit, and one
Mm.
of the my monitors came to me. It's like, man, this guy, he is like real tense. I give him some direction on what we can do and can't do. He listened, but it's like, he passive aggressive. You know what I mean? And I know my monitor is a very good monitor, right?
Yeah.
Experience, care about the people, but the human side of them is like, yo, he ain't gonna just disrespect me. You know what I
Right.
mean? Can't do that. And so last week when they mentioned it to me, and I was just like, hey, just listen to it. I'm like, do you want me to say something to them? They was like, no. I said, or do you want to give it another week? So it's like, no, let's give it another week. So they came
Okay.
back today, said same type vibe, right? So I'm like,
Right.
hey, do you want me to have a conversation with him? I said, but the thing about it is that you don't want it to be where he's only listening to me, right? You
Right.
you need to have this. And she's like, yeah, you're right. They said you're right, right? So what happened? I was like, you know what? How about this? We normally do a check-in. Why don't you tell him that I would like to check in with him
Yeah.
once he get done? And she was like, cool, right? So dad comes in, bro, sits down. So I'm just like, catching up, like, man, how do you feel? So his response, right, with man, was so dope, man. And I'm gonna use this in my trainings because it was real. My man, he says to me, I'm just gonna tell you, he's like, I never thought I'd be in this position. And he said, number one, coming into the hood, he is like, I don't want to come over here to the hood. I'm afraid. I'm scared. Uh, and so part of me on the inside is like, bro, I can be offended because I grew up in the hood, right? But I'm listening, going beyond, right? Still, um, you know, face in the moment, just listening to what he's saying. And he's just like, I shouldn't have to come here. I used to live in a $600,000 house, just going through all of this stuff, right? And so I let him talk, right? And then because I wanted to make that connection, Cole,
Right.
I was like, I don't know what you're going through and what you feel, but I can understand to agree. I said, as a black man having to live in a certain community that I live in, I sometimes feel uncomfortable. So you know what? Not that I know how you feel, but I understand to a degree of having
Yeah.
to go to. So I didn't want to dismiss because I could have easily just dismissed his feelings as a man, right? But I didn't, right? I empathize. But this was the key, right? Is that as we started talking, because I know he was giving them some opposition, all I said to him was these words, bro. I looked him in his eyes. I said, man, look at me. He looked at me. I said, you are not a bad father.
Mm. It's powerful.
Brother, the
Yeah.
tears poured like never before. He started to disclose that he felt less than the man of having to come to a place for somebody to watch him interact with his kids.
Yeah.
I have to go into an environment I don't feel comfortable with. The other party, he feels, is forcing him to come and be supervised. The other
Yeah.
party was late 7 minutes, and he was adamant, I need to get my 7 minutes back. Are you going
Mm.
to send that in the report? And so I had to get him to see beyond what was going on. Like, man, I want you to learn how to just be. I was like, man, you're not a bad father, right? Life happens. Like, we went through the whole thing. My point is of what you're talking about, Cole. This dude was walking around with all of this stuff and didn't have anybody to talk to, right? At least it appears that he didn't have anybody to talk to, but he was putting off this persona. that, you know, that he was mad and angry at the world. But all he was hurting.
Yeah.